Welcome back to Cruise News with your hosts Joe and Donna on our YouTube channel Travel 1609. We are diving into a whole stack of source material today, and it's all focused squarely on Norwegian Cruise Line, NCL.
Right.
We've got articles, reports here,
Yeah.
covering all the recent announcements, really looking ahead to their summer 2025 season, fleet upgrades, detailed itineraries, other NCL news you provided.
Yeah, there's quite a bit there.
So our mission really is to sift through this info, plot the key insights, and try to understand what NCL is actually doing, maybe why it matters, and what it could mean for you if you're thinking about cruising with them or just, keeping an eye on the industry.
Sounds like a plan. Looking through these sources, it's pretty clear NCL has been, well, active. Lots of announcements about fleet enhancements, their itineraries, mostly geared towards summer 2025. And the stated goal, like right from the materials, seems to be about offering more, more experiences, more value, more flexibility for guests.
Okay, more.
Yeah. And the updates cover quite a few ships. Norwegian Breakaway, Norwegian Bliss, Norwegian Epic, and even Pride of America.
It's interesting looking at the specifics, how targeted these upgrades seem. Maybe we should zero in on Breakaway and Bliss first.
Yeah.
One set of sources really goes deep on those two.
Good idea.
Both ships went into dry dock,
Yeah.
for maintenance and those big upgrades early in 2025. Bliss was in, January 17th to February 2nd?
Yeah, that's right. And Breakaway was just after, February 19th to March 14th.
Okay, so what did Bliss get? The enhancements seemed to touch a few different areas.
They did. They added a new top deck outdoor space, Horizon Park. Sounds like a kind of relaxed area, lawn games like cornhole, Jenga, maybe a stage for music, loungers, views, that sort of thing.
Nice. Sounds like a good spot to chill. What about dining? I saw some pretty big changes mentioned there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They actually replaced several venues, Los Lobos, the Mexican place, Coco's Coffee and Chocolate Bar, and Ocean Blue, the seafood spot. They're out.
Replaced with?
Replaced with Cagney's Steakhouse. And not just Cagney's, but an expanded teppanyaki, the hibachi grill, and Palomar.
Palomar. That's the high-end Mediterranean seafood one from Norwegian Prima, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the one. Bringing it over to Bliss, well, that's a pretty significant move. It suggests they're aiming for a more, maybe, premium feel across the fleet. Consistent dining, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely signals an effort to elevate things, bringing those popular concepts from the newer ships over. What about cabins?
They tweaked accommodations, too. Expanded the Haven's premier owner's suites, the Haven being that sort of luxury ship within a ship area.
Yeah. All right, the keycard access zone.
Yeah. So those suites now have 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, separate dining. Pretty plush. And interestingly, they repurposed some of the observation lounge space.
Oh, how so?
To add 24 new balcony cabins and 2 club balcony staterooms. So actually increasing the ship's capacity slightly.
Got it. And anything for wellness or adults only area?
Yeah. Bliss got Spice H2O, which is their adults only deck area. And the thermal suite in the Mandura Spa was expanded too.
Okay. Now let's shift to Norwegian Breakaway. Similar themes there or different stuff?
Some similarities, but also a really unique addition. Horizon Park was added there too. The games, music, views.
Yeah.
And they also added the stadium, another complimentary outdoor space, seems more geared towards family-friendly games.
Makes sense. What's the unique thing then?
It's called the Silver Screen Bistro. This replaces the Spiegel tent, which was that sort of dinner theater venue.
Right, I remember that.
Well, the bistro is described as an immersive cinema and dining experience. Think oversized recliners, retractable tables, and a global fusion menu that takes cues from Food Republic, another NCL spot.
Wow, okay. That's like a total rethink of that space. Immersive cinema dining. Interesting.
Definitely different. And on the dining side for Breakaway, kind of mirroring Bliss, they swapped out Moderno Churrascaria, the Brazilian Steakhouse, and Ocean Blue.
And brought in?
An expanded Cagney's Steakhouse and Palomar, just like on Bliss.
Okay. Looking at the strategy for Bliss and Breakaway, it seems pretty clear they're really doubling down on premium dining Cagney's Palomar and adding these diverse new venues. Things for families like Horizon Park, adults-only Spice H2O, that unique silver screen bistro.
Exactly. It lines up with that more mantra, doesn't it?
Rah.
And definitely feels like they're trying to compete harder with land-based vacations by seriously upping the onboard experience. Seems they see demand for, higher-end and more varied things to do at sea.
Okay, let's switch gears then. What about the other ships mentioned in the sources? Epic and Pride of America. Those upgrades happened recently too, right?
Yeah, Epic finished its 3-week dry dock on May 8th, 2025. And Pride of America, that's the one sailing Hawaii year-round hers, was May 3rd to May 31st, 2025.
So what did Epic get?
Mostly enhancements on the top decks, it seems. A brand new hot tub up on deck 18. And they refreshed the kids' aqua park, apparently replaced something called Splash Golf.
Yeah, I think that was like water mini golf.
Oh, okay.
What else in Epic?
They expanded the adults-only Vibe Beach Club. It replaces the old Posh Beach Club. The new Vibe adds another hot tub, more loungers, private cabanas. Sounds like a plusher adults area.
And cabins. Any changes there?
Yep, added 8 new staterooms on Epic, a mix of balcony and ocean view types.
Gotcha. Now, Pride of America, sailing Hawaii, that's unique. What upgrades did she get? It seems aimed at popular stuff.
Yeah, very much so. They added a new Starbucks location right on deck 5 in the main atrium, and pickleball added to the sports court. You see pickleball popping up everywhere now, don't you?
Huh. You really do. Seems like a must-have amenity these days. Okay, Starbucks, pickleball. What else?
More cabins there, too. Added 12 new club balcony suites and 3 inside staterooms up on deck 12. And they did some shuffling of spaces, moved the kids club, Splash Academy, and the teen club entourage down to deck 6. They took over the space where the library, internet cafe, and chapel used to be.
Ah, okay, so repurposing space. Did they add back a library?
They did. Added a new library and card room where the old Shuffles card room was.
So looking at Epic and Pride of America together, the theme seems to be adding those really popular in-demand things like Starbucks, pickleball,
Yeah.
expanding the desirable adults-only spaces like Vibe, and again, increasing capacity with new cabins.
Exactly. And NCL's president, David J. Herrera, is quoted in these sources linking these changes directly to listening to guests' feedback. He talks about providing more to do on board.
Right, so reinforcing that idea that guest preferences are really driving these specific investments, targeting trends, optimizing spaces. Okay, so we've got these refreshed ships. Where are they actually going in summer 2025? The forces detail some key regions: Alaska, Europe, Caribbean, Bermuda.
Alaska is definitely a big focus. The sources highlight NCL having the youngest fleet there through October 2025. They're sending 5 ships: Bliss, Encore, Joy, Jade, and Sun.
5 ships. Wow. Sailing from where?
Both Seattle and Vancouver.
And the itineraries. Any specific examples that stand out?
Yeah, they give a few. Bliss and Encore are doing those popular 7-day round trips from Seattle, hitting places like Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, Sitka, Victoria, Icy Strait Point, the classics. Norwegian Joy is doing slightly longer trips, 9 and 10 days, also round trip Seattle. Those include Hubbard Glacier and promise more time ashore in the ports.
Longer time in port, that's always good.
And then Norwegian Jade is doing 7-day open jaw sailing, so one way between Vancouver and Whittier, Alaska.
Yeah.
And get this design with no sea days.
No sea days at all, just port after port.
Seems like it. Really maximizing that port time. And they also mentioned cruise tour packages, for adding land trips to Denali or Fairbanks, that kind of thing.
That focus on maximizing port time, especially in Alaska, seems smart. People go there for the destination, right?
Absolutely. It's a clear response to that. Europe is also huge for NCL in 2025. Over 150 itineraries, 8 ships deployed there.
8 ships, including the newly refurbed ones.
Yep, Breakaway and Epic will be there, plus their newer Prima-class ships like Prima and Viva.
What kind of European itineraries are we talking about?
Sources mention Breakaway and Epic doing 9 to 12-day cruises from hubs like Rome, Barcelona, Venice, sailing the Med, Greek Isles. And again, emphasis on minimal sea days. They say an average of 10 hours per port.
10 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty decent. Time to actually see something.
Yeah, allows for proper visits to places like Florence of Pisa, Salerno, Messina, Santorini, Mykonos, Olympia, those kinds of stops. And Prima and Viva will be doing Baltic, Northern Europe, other Greek Isles routes from places like Copenhagen, Helsinki, Stockholm, Amsterdam.
That longer time in port really does seem like a deliberate strategy, trying to offer a deeper dive into the destinations.
It definitely sets them apart from itineraries with quick in-and-out port calls. Then for the Caribbean and Bermuda, the ships mentioned are Norwegian, Aqua, Getaway, and Jewel.
Aqua. That's their newest one, right? Or was when these sources came out?
Correct. Aqua's doing 7-day Caribbean from Port Canaveral through summer 25. Then it pivots to Bermuda 5 and 7-day trips from New York City August to October 25.
Okay.
And after that, October 25 to April 26, it's back to the Caribbean, 7-day Eastern Caribbean loops from Miami.
What about Getaway and Jewel? Bermuda, too.
Yep, both doing 7-day round-trip Bermuda cruises, Getaway from NYC, Jewel from Boston, and crucially, they include overnight stays at the Royal Naval Dockyard in Bermuda.
Oh, overnight is great for Bermuda.
Right.
Really lets you explore.
Huge difference. So yeah, this variety across regions, the different lengths that focus on longer port stays, it really hammers home NCL's push for, diverse experiences. Fits that freedom, flexibility message they use.
Okay, beyond the ships and where they're going, the sources also talk about other offerings, other initiatives. They really highlight something called the More at Sea program. What exactly is that?
Right, the More at Sea program. As it's described here, it basically bundles together several amenities that often cost extra. Things like an unlimited premium open bar. They even list brands like Casamigos, Grey Goose.
Okay, so the good stuff.
Seems like it. Plus, specialty dining credits, high-speed Wi-Fi mentioning Starlink specifically, and a $50 shore excursion credit per port.
Per port? Wow.
Yeah. And the sources note the potential savings could be over 75% compared to buying all that a la carte.
That's a pretty significant value proposition, assuming you'd actually want those things anyway.
Exactly. And they mention other benefits, too, maybe aimed at different groups, like free airfare for the second guest on some sailings, and kids sailing free on select departures, clearly trying to appeal to families there.
Makes sense. And speaking of families, didn't the sources briefly touch on some family features on the newer ships, like Aqua?
They did, yeah. Mention the Aquaslide coaster. Sounds like a hybrid water slide roller coaster, and the Glow Court, like an interactive sports area.
So it feels like a multi-pronged strategy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. NCL's focus, again, quoting President Herrera from the sources, is all about enhancing value, delivering the best vacation experience, and really positioning cruising strongly against, land-based holidays.
And isn't there a mention of their private island, too? Great Stirrup Cay?
Briefly. Planned upgrades for late 2025, a new multi-ship pier, which is a big deal logistically, plus a large heated pool with a swim-up bar.
So investing across the board ships, programs, even the private destinations.
Seems that way, a comprehensive approach.
The sources also had a quick note about some cancellations. Bliss and Breakaway itineraries in late 25, early 26. Something about redeployment.
Yeah, it's mentioned briefly. It says affected guests get full refunds and a 10% future cruise credit.
Yeah.
While it's not the main focus, that detail, as it's framed, just points to the reality of managing a global fleet, NCL adapting to market demand or strategic shifts. It happens, though it's obviously disruptive if you're booked on one of those. Something to be aware of, that flexibility can sometimes mean changes.
Right, good point. Okay, so let's try and synthesize all this. Let's bring it back to you, the listener. After digging through all these NCL sources for summer 2025, what does it really boil down to for someone thinking about a cruise or just watching the industry?
Well, I think the key takeaways are pretty clear. NCL is actively and really significantly investing in upgrading its fleet, not just polishing the brass, but adding genuinely new premium venues, popular amenities, and they're saying it's based on guest feedback.
Okay, so more options on board.
Definitely. More diverse onboard options. Enhanced dining, those new entertainment concepts like the Silver Screen Bistro, expanded relaxation spaces like Horizon Park and the Vibe Beach Club. Then there are the itineraries, a really wide variety, and they seem specifically designed to give you more time in port, especially in places like Europe and Alaska.
Right, the minimal sea days, long port calls.
Exactly. And finally, they're packaging value through programs like More at Sea, which could simplify booking and offer real savings. It paints a picture of a cruise line that's, actively evolving its product. Seems like a direct response to what they're hearing from guests and, the competition from other types of vacations.
That really wraps up our deep dive into these NCL sources quite nicely. A huge amount of information there about their plans for 2025, the fleet, the routes, the strategy.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on. And here's maybe something for you to think about as you process all this. NCL is making quite rapid, pretty significant changes across several ships, almost all at once, it feels like. So how does that constant evolution, the physical changes to the ships, the changes in onboard offerings, how does that impact your perspective as a traveler? Does a promise of new features add excitement, make you want to try a ship after its upgrade? Or does the potential for changes, maybe changes to ships you previously liked, or even those itinerary cancellations we mentioned, does that introduce a bit of uncertainty?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, just something to consider. How does this very dynamic approach NCL seems to be taking a line with your own vacation style, your priorities when you plan a trip?
Definitely something to mull over. Well, thank you for providing these source materials and joining us for this deep dive today.
My pleasure.
And we absolutely encourage you, the listener, to keep exploring these topics. Maybe look at the sources yourself and learn even more.